Back in 2019, the Canada Pension Plan started to expand. And now as we enter 2025, we're in the final phase of this expansion. In this video, I'll go through the increases coming to CPP in 2025, what this means for your contributions, and how it could impact your retirement. If we quickly go back and look at history and what the CPP expansion means, back in 2018, CPP contribution was 4.95% of the income that you earn. Now there's an exemption, I'll get to that here in a second, but starting in 2019 is when this expansion started. And there's two parts of this, and I'll cover up both in this video, as well as explain how much more you're going to be paying this year versus just a few years ago, and it's a big number. So starting in 2019, the base contribution amount for an employee, the employer makes the same amount, went from 4.95 up to 5.1. The following year, 2020, it went up to 5.25, then 5.45, 5.7, and finally in 2023, it reached its peak at 5.95. So there's two parts to enhancement. First part was from 2019 to 2023 of let's increase the base amount to 5.95% from 4.95%. The amount that you pay into CPP, the Canadian Pension Plan, is based on the amount of income. And that income has a threshold of how much you can actually pay in every year, and that's called YMPE, Yearly Maximal Pensionable Earnings. And for 2025, the YMPE is increased to $71,300. Now, the first $3,500 is exempt. There's a personal exemption of $3,500, but amounts above $3,500 up to that threshold of $71,300, you're going to pay as an employee 5.95%. If you're self-employed, you're paying double that. So if we extrapolate that out, that means that you're going to pay just over $4,034 if you make $71,300 in 2025. So just over $4,000 you're paying into the Canadian Pension Plan for your future benefit. Again, your employer is also paying that same amount for your benefit down the road. YMPE will increase every single year. So if we look back, you can see it's increased year over year as time has gone on, and you're going to pay a percentage. So last year, the percentage was the same, 5.95%, but you can see that the YMPE was lower. But now as we go into 2025 with YMPE ratcheting up, because the percentage stays the same, you're going to pay more in. So yes, your deposits into CPP will be more in 2025 than 2024, and it will continue that way. So again, that's CPP 1 and the original enhancement that was rolled out starting in 2019. So yes, you're going to pay more into CPP based on the first enhancement. But what about the second enhancement? And we did a video about a year ago on this, explaining how this is coming. But the second phase of it is CPP 2.0, which is an amount above this for higher income earners. CPP 2.0 is based on YAMPE. So not YMPE, but YAMPE. I don't know if they could confuse this anymore, but it's a year's additional maximal pensionable earnings. And the ceiling for this in 2025 is $81,200. Now, that threshold or that ceiling comes as part of that phase 2 of CPP 2.0. So in 2024, there was this second ceiling, YAMPE, and it was based on 7% above YMPE. Come 2025, and where the big increase happens and where it's going to continue going forward, is it's now 14% above that number. So if we look at the YMPE of $71,300, we now have YAMPE of $81,200, meaning that you're going to pay a second step of CPP contributions if you make over $71,300 and below that $81,200. So if you make $100,000, you will pay the max both on the base CPP and the CPP 2.0 into your CPP contributions. Now, before I get too far into this, remember you're paying more into it, but the benefit's going to be more down the road as well, which I'll cover here in a second. So based on 2025, if you make more than that second threshold, the YAMP number of $81,200, you can expect to pay $4,430 into CPP, the Canadian Pension Plan, for 2025. Let's compare that number to just 5 years ago, into 2020. So in 2020, the YMP was $58,700. Again, it increases over time with inflation. So $58,700. The contribution rate at that time, it was in the middle of that increase, so it was at 5.25%. And so the total amount that you would have paid into CPP that year, $2,898. That means in 2025, you're paying $1,532 more into CPP if you make above $81,200 in 2025 than you did back in 2020. That's a 53% increase in payment to CPP. So what are you getting for it? When it comes to managing your investments, trust is everything. That's why I want to introduce you to Steadyhand, a firm that's been redefining the way Canadians invest for nearly 2 decades. Steadyhand is designed for Canadians who want to get more out of their money. With lower fees, expert guidance, and a transparent, no-nonsense approach, they help you achieve your financial goals without the high costs or confusion of traditional banks. One of the things I love about Steadyhand is their unique approach to fees. They're the only investment firm in Canada that reduces fees the longer you stay invested. This means Steadyhand clients pay on average all-in fees of less than 0.9%, potentially saving thousands of dollars each year and keeping more of your money working for you. This year, Steadyhand has made it even easier to switch by reimbursing transfer fees when you bring your accounts over. No hidden fees, no surprises, just a better way to invest. Beyond the client-friendly fees, what sets Steadyhand apart is their overall client-first philosophy. Their team of experienced advisors works with you to implement a personalized plan tailored to your financial goals. Whether that's preparing for retirement, growing your wealth, or finding a trusted partner to guide your financial journey. We've been referring our own clients to Steadyhand for years, and they've been an invaluable partner, not just in managing investments, but also in helping our clients implement their retirement cash flow plans. Stay tuned on that. We'll share more about this in a future video. With a low minimum account size, Steadyhand provides expert advice typically reserved for high net worth investors, now accessible to Canadians who want to make smarter financial decisions. If you're ready to invest with a firm that puts your interests first, I highly recommend checking out Steadyhand. Click the link below for more information. So before this expansion started back in 2018, the goal of the Canadian pension plan was to replace 25% of your income based on the high watermark of YMPE. So again, 71,300. The goal of CPP was to replace 25% of that. Now, 25% add in old age security, maybe you're getting to 35, 40%. You still had a big gap. And most Canadians are not filling that gap and having a really tough time in retirement. And you may be one of those people. You realize that, yeah, I didn't save enough, and CPP doesn't cover all that much, especially with inflation the way it's going. And so that need is there, and the change happened, again, going back to 2018, 2019 now. So moving forward with the enhancement, both enhancement 1 and enhancement 2 of CPP 2.0, the idea now is to replace 33% of your income. So now when we add in 33% with CPP, add in OAS, about 40%, 50%, maybe up to 60% could be covered just through these government benefits. Now I know when I say government benefits, old age security is truly a government benefit based on how long you were here. CPP is something you pay into. I'll call it a government benefit for this video. I know a lot of you will push back or leave a comment below. But the idea is for your Canadian pension plan to replace more of your income going forward as you enter into retirement. This takes a lot of the pressure off you and puts it really on the CPP, which is a well-managed portfolio and is sustainable for 75 plus years. So it's a great investment to have. Now, the full rollout of CPP 2.0 is actually going to take 40 years. So it's really for the younger generation that will see the huge net benefit because they'll have the full contribution time at the higher CPP amount. If you're getting closer to retirement, you've only paid a few payments maybe into this enhanced CPP, you will get a small enhancement, but of course it won't hit the full maximum of 33% because you haven't paid in that whole lifetime. But again, someone that's 20 years old right now pays into CPP full enhancement through their whole career will get that full 33% at retirement. So currently right now, if you were collecting CPP and collecting the maximum amount of CPP, what you're going to collect is about $16,000 per year. With this enhancement, if you were collecting in 40 years from now, again, you haven't paid into it, so don't expect the benefit. But for people that continue to pay in the enhanced CPP down the road, they'll be collecting about just over $21,000 in today's dollars. So that's a big bump. If you multiply that times 2, if you and your spouse or common law partner have both maximized CPP, you'll have in today's dollars about $43,000, $44,000 to live off in retirement. That's a great base. Add in old age security, and a lot of you could live off that nowadays in retirement. So that base enhancement, the 4.95 to 5.95, bumps you up to 33%. That was the base amount that we're trying to get to. Again, that increases your full CPP amount in today's dollars from 16,000 to about 21,000. When we add in CPP 2.0, which again is that YAMPE, so the higher income earners between about 71 and 81,000 here in 2025, it adds even more. And so you could earn up to about $24,000 in today's dollars. Multiply that times 2, and you have a really nice base income for retirement. So imagine if you were retiring right now and you had $25,000, maybe 50 if you and your spouse both had it. That's a really good base to start drawing on. So again, the whole concept of this CPP enhancement, both enhancement 1 and enhancement 2, is to have more money coming into your pocket. I get it. You're paying a lot more in now, 53% more now than 5 years ago, but the enhancement will mean more dollars in your pocket later on, about 50% more. So when we look at that, the problem that so many Canadians have, and people across the country and across the world have, is the ability to save enough for retirement. It's really expensive to live nowadays and all that. But what helps is putting money aside before you even collect your own money. And CPP does that. You're required to pay into CPP based on your earnings. Up to that, again, YAMPE number. And so when you're forced to save, it's going to force that retirement savings for you, which is a good thing. Not a lot of you are going to save that extra money. So if CPP payments just stayed the same, 4.95%, no CPP 2.0, the difference in saving that you're forced to do now, you probably weren't saving that before. And I know you say, well, Adam, like I need that. I'm hardly putting food on the table. But the reality is it kind of spreads it out, right? Adjust your lifestyle now. Hopefully, maybe you need a second job. Maybe you have to completely change things to make sure that you can afford to put food on the table because yes, you are paying more into CPP, but you're taking care of your future self. Now, again, everyone's got their opinion on this, but the reality is it probably puts Canada in a better position down the road for retirees, looking after their retirees, than currently. I think we're in this bubble gap right now of 10 to 20 years ago, a lot of people retiring had a defined benefit pension plan. So it was very comfortable. They had the guaranteed pension. When you added on CPP OAS, they were just fine. I know a lot of them. We have a lot of those as clients. We have this little bubble now where most people retiring do not have a defined benefit pension plan, and most haven't saved. And those that haven't saved, fortunately, they bought real estate for $30,000 and it's worth $3 million now. So they're selling, downsizing, and have that equity. But if we don't look forward far enough and say, what's going to happen with that next generation, I think there's going to be an issue. And CPP, the Canadian Pension Plan, saw this happening, and that's why that change happened. That's my belief. That's how I see it. I kind of see how this maps out through generations, and a forced savings plan is a good thing. Again, Canadian pension plans are very well managed. We did a video on that. We'll link that above and we'll paste that below as well. Check that out. If you're kind of not sure about CPP and you think it's a scam and is it really there for me and is it going to be there for me down the road, make sure to check that video out because it breaks down all the detail of it, the review of it, and how it's actually managed, which a lot of you need better understanding of.